give the question. If I feel people can't hear it or the acoustics are such, we'll take it as it goes. I may repeat the question, but in any case, we don't have one of those floating mics. So please do stand up and project if you've got a question. All right. So with us today we have Howard Miller, who's the Vice President of LBW Insurance and Financial Services. Immediately to his right, in the middle, Scott Kramer, President and CEO of Multibrain, and then right next to me, Will Aldrich, Vice President of Product, SurveyMonkey. So we're going to start by asking each of the panelists to answer kind of one question, and then we'll get into individualized questions, and then take some questions from the audience. So, gentlemen, if you could start by letting us know your perspective on this question. There, technology continues to grow, more and more tools and products every day that are available for a business to reach their customers and clients. Where in surveying the big landscape, where do you start? So, Will, we'll start with you on that.
Great. Thank you, Kobe, and thank you to all of you, and to Gilbert, Stuart, Jessica, Angela, and all the VICA team. So there's a proverb. You love it when a panelist starts out with this, but the fool speaks and the wise man listens. And that proverb, there's actually been some pretty vivid data to underscore that proverb over the last year or so. We looked at some data around the top reasons why brands were being unliked on Facebook. And if you look at the data, it's primarily because they are providing status updates, talking all the time, and not really listening to what their customers are asking for. So SurveyMonkey is a big believer that questions can help you listen. So what we are all about is really helping move us past the old way. So the old way of asking questions was either pen and paper. Actually, I think we might be doing a pen and paper survey today. Telephone, direct mail. These mechanisms are, generally speaking, really expensive, very hard for certainly small businesses to take and use. They're slow, they're not instant, they're not conversational. And we're really about helping people move to the new way of listening and asking questions. So doing it electronically, doing it instantly, conversationally, and doing it where people's stakeholders, where their customers are, whether that's Facebook or elsewhere on the web. So there are over 9 million people who are using SurveyMonkey globally today, and asking 4 billion questions a year. So eager to engage further with the panel and with each of you guys with your questions to help pick apart the ways that we can ask questions and ultimately to make decisions better about how to move forward and grow our businesses. So thank you.
Thank you, Will. Scott?
Good morning, everybody. I'm glad you took a kind of far-reaching look at this, because that's what I would start off by saying is, where do you get started? The first thing would be to understand what it is we're actually going through right now in time and the change in our society. And it's kind of a quick little, I'll do a 1-minute, hopefully an aha moment to understand that social media, the internet, social media is really just the evolution of the internet and what it's turning out to be really good for, which is groups and conversations. So to many, which is creating a print ad, a radio spot, a TV spot, and distributing that out to millions of people, one to a lot of people, one message. What's changed dramatically, in fact, all other media is now migrating to the internet as well, so everybody's on the same playing field, is the internet is now really good at having conversations with your customer or your potential customer. So you can't just blast them with what we know traditionally as marketing, which is, I have a sale this weekend, 20% off, come into my store. That's kind of rude. If you're at a cocktail party, you wouldn't talk to your friends like that. With the internet and social media these days, you have an ongoing relationship with your consumer. And in fact, me as a consumer, I'm now in charge of your message. So you don't just get to send me a postcard in the mail or run a radio spot. You have to have a relationship with me because I get to decide if I want to share your message, your business, your sale, your restaurant with all of my friends. And that truly is the power of what we're talking about. If I love your restaurant, I'm going to check in, I'm going to post about it, I'm going to let my friends know. So suddenly 900 people know about you. And you have an ongoing relationship with me, which is a really touchy subject. You know, you can't, like you were saying, Will, you can't blast me and talk at me. You have to talk with me. And that is the true power of what we're talking about here. I come from, big league, American Idol, Coca-Cola, Wimbledon, major brands, and really started identifying this revolution going on with social media about 5 years ago, and decided, it's not about 800 million people on Facebook. You don't care about that. In fact, you're probably overwhelmed by that. But what it is, and why I started Multibrain a year and a half ago, is it is the most powerful vehicle now for you as a local business and as a community in your community. So whether it's 100 people, 1,000 people, or 10,000 people, the fact is the power is in the relationship and the community building aspect you can use through social media.
Howard,
Okay.
thoughts to add on that subject? Where do you start?
Yeah, as practice leader of our tech security division at LBW Insurance, my perspective is a little different because my focus is risk management. When I serve clients, my goal is to help them prioritize and identify their exposures that they face in their business. From there, they typically can choose to finance those risks, usually with insurance, or put together risk control programs to prevent or reduce losses. Usually the best approach is a combination of the two. In August, I wrote a piece for the VICA blog on hazard risk, and essentially I was talking about unforeseen events, man-made natural disasters like earthquakes, floods, tornadoes, theft. A couple headlines. October 21st, Dow Jones. Chubb's third quarter earnings dropped by 48% as the property and casualty insurer joined the ranks of companies reporting significant catastrophe losses. But signs of continued pricing to improve. So basically, prices are looking to go up in insurance. Insurance companies are paying out quite a bit right now. Another headline, October 20th, Allstate says third quarter cat losses to be around $1.08 billion. Travelers reported that its third quarter net income dropped 67%, primarily due to $606 million in catastrophe losses that occurred during that period. So the point basically that I'm making is that the world is becoming a very risky place to live. And I don't believe the world has ever been more volatile than it is right now, and I see that continuing. Technology is very much a part of this increase in risk. I've always been an advocate of technology, but I think companies need to be aware of the challenges that technology brings in this age. There's basically been an evolution in technology. The cost of a hard drive in the early 80s was somewhere around $200,000 per gig. Now it's less than 10 cents a gig. Computing power has increased exponentially. We're more mobile than ever with portable computing, smartphones. So basically, over the past generation, apps, text, video, audio, video has all been digitized. So we're living in a digital medium. With the low cost of storage and the increase in computing power, all this information can be analyzed. So as you look at technology, you want to think about thresholds. So there's three main pieces that I think people need to understand when they're dealing and controlling information. So ask yourself these three questions. Can your business effectively function if you cannot access your data to a certain degree? What if you cannot trust the integrity of your data? What if you cannot secure the confidentiality of your data to a certain threshold? So basically, what has happened over the past generation is that the need to access all that information that's been accumulated has outpaced securing the confidentiality and integrity of that information. So if this imbalance continues to a certain degree, it will destroy people's ability to do business. The result, according to privacyrights.org, has been over 2,700 reported U.S. breaches since 2005 across a range of industries, accounting for over 540 million accounts disclosed. So the law is catching up with this on a state, federal, and international level. It's also finding its way into business contracts as companies look to transfer this risk to other parties through contract. Another problem that's developed is online bank fraud and credit fraud. It's a very serious problem. The flip side to this explosion in information is enforcing and defending intellectual property. The use of all this public information to profile people for employment, loans. A lot of digital information is fair game for e-discovery in lawsuits. And because it's so easy to publish information on the internet, there are legal risks of defamation, disparagement of others' goods and services, libel, etc. Basically, it now takes a team of technology specialists in legal, insurance, security, and PR to properly address the scope of these exposures. Enjoy the ride.
Well, Howard, let's stay with that a little bit. I mean, you've outlined some pretty daunting aspects of our technology-oriented society. What can businesses do to mitigate some of those risks?
Well, I think for every industry, it's going to be a little different. If you're in healthcare, you're obviously dealing with HIPAA, things of that nature. If you're a social media company, it's a different exposure. I think basically there's two sides to this technology risk. One is information, and that really gets into securing that information because the access of it has exceeded the confidentiality and integrity. The other side is what I call content. So you're talking about copyright infringement, trademark. Really what companies need to do, and it's kind of a newer thing, companies have to have social media policy, acceptable use policy in their handbooks, because social media is really kind of shifting into the workplace. It's very difficult to get employees to segregate that, their personal life from their work life. So insurance is another piece. There's a moving landscape in the legal arena regarding privacy. There's 47 states that have privacy regulations. So it's sometimes having an insurance policy where the insurance company can step in and help you deal with notification requirements, how to put together the letters, how to deal with all these laws can be very helpful. So that can be somewhat cost effective.
Okay, great. Thank you. Scott, I'm sure I would presume everybody in this room has at least heard of Twitter and Facebook and LinkedIn, and those do seem to be kind of the dominant social media platforms right now. But I think for so many small businesses, the question of is it really a good use of someone's time in order to really promote your business? I mean, these tools can seem, on the one hand, so social and not really business friendly. How does a business person approach social media in terms of wanting to increase their business, and is it even really necessary today?
It's actually, I mean, it's one quote I use every day. It's no longer a choice of whether or not to use social media in marketing your business. It's how well are you using it? Because again, you don't get the option to choose whether you want to play in the game or not. People are talking about your business. You should know what people are saying about your business and steer their decision making, make them a customer, be part of that conversation. Any one of you businesses out here, I guarantee you one of my team could plug in your business name and find people talking about you, whether it's on Facebook, Twitter, reviews on Yelp, Google, Bing, Yahoo, City Search, name the site. People are talking about you. So that's where, and it's kind of funny, I respect and appreciate the privacy issues and all of that, but I always say, in this day and age, transparency is the new privacy. We live in an open age, open communication. I can find out just about anything about any one of you if I dig in deep enough. It's just a reality. So you do have to control your message and your content and what's out there. The easiest way to get into the game is get into the game. Most of all of these services I've just discussed are absolutely free. I would say, first things first, every one of you should go back and check google.com/places and make sure you have a profile listed, because 4 out of 5 people use the internet to search for products and services. So if you don't have a profile up there on Google, you're missing out on a lot of opportunities and customers. So I mean, it's really, it's yes, absolutely necessary, because that's where your customer is, so you need to be there as well.
Well, we could probably talk about social media for the entire panel discussion, but are there other technologies out there that people ought to be considering besides just the straight social media technologies in order to increase their own businesses?
Yeah, I do think the focus. It's wise for the focus to be, for each of our businesses is going to have perhaps a different focal point with respect to sorry, where the conversation is happening about your business, and I think so. For example, a lot of brands have been investing for good reason. Have been investing in creating Facebook pages. Right. So if you go to facebook.com/Coca-Cola or other brands, you can find the official Facebook location for a given company. Now, what happens in the context of that page matters a lot, and you can do things. You can customize that page. You can retain agencies to help you do that, or you can do it yourself. You can simply publish a stream of photos that help to illustrate what's happening with your brand to its fans, to your friends out there. But you can also do things like embed. You can embed different kinds of applications into your Facebook page. For example, you can run a survey there and do things like capture information about, and in a very conversational way, capture insights about how your customers and fans' experiences have been with your company in their last interactions with it in the real world, right? So I think it is important, in all of this, if you're sort of still trying to find where the conversation is happening, it's incredibly helpful to set up things like a Google alert for your brand or for your company name or your own name. I think it's probably a wise thing for all of us to do, to make sure that just so that when new content is published on the internet, that you know about it early. I mean, the only cure for bad speech is more speech, right? So if somebody is criticizing your company unfairly online, and they're making it a campaign, and they're out there in Yelp and on blogs, et cetera, as the owner of your business or the kind of steward of that brand, it's on you to get out there and represent the other side and set the record straight. And so you can do that, I think, through some of the points that Scott made. I would echo those by participating in comments, by having your own updates going out on Facebook, on Twitter. But again, you got to do triage, right? You can't just sort of be a mile wide, an inch deep. You'll achieve nothing. And I think it's a good idea. Facebook is probably the best bet because of its vast distribution and the fact that now all of the content there that happens on your page is public and discoverable by Google and by the wider web. So those are a couple of ideas.
Okay, thank you. Again, we could probably talk about social media and, in fact, the internet for the entire discussion. But before we kind of take questions from the audience, I'd like to ask the panel one question just about technology in a different sense, and that is, the kind of technology that we use day to day that isn't necessarily the internet itself. So besides a computer, besides a printer, are there any particular technological physical tools that each of you think are indispensable? And if you only had to pick one or two of these tools, what would they be? And the answer may be obvious, but interested in your perspectives on that.
Well, I'll take a whack at it. This apologies if this may be the most obvious answer to the question, but a smartphone.
Damn, that was my answer.
Yeah, so
I was even going to hold it up.
So I'll try to make it less boring by at least providing some kind of a rationale for it, and would love to hear your guys' feedback on this. Increasingly, we actually are seeing this in SurveyMonkey ourselves, and certainly the data. So I think if you look at technology adoption in terms of how many millions of people are using a given technology by the number of months from their launch, there's been nothing. And you look back at things like mainframe computing or PCs, and then the consumer internet through AOL, and then Netscape, the Netscape browser, and the kind of open internet. The fastest growing technologies for accessing by consumers ever have been the smartphone, specifically the iPhone, and then the iPad. The iPad has actually been even faster, so faster than the adoption of everything that's come before. So what that means is that actually, from a media literacy point of view, it is incumbent on each of us to understand what the smartphone, the mobile experience is of the web in general, A. B, how applications are different from the web. C, how your customers are using things like location, using their cameras on the phones to interact with the world, with your brand, and with their friends. So I think from a media literacy point of view, it is absolutely essential. And by smartphone, I don't mean a BlackBerry. And I'm sorry to BlackBerry aficionados and fans. I think the definition is an iOS device, like an iPhone, or an Android device. And, that's it. Done.
I'm going to say the one device you should have is a beeper. Just to change it up a little bit. Yeah, the reality is I'm just going to stay on this because it's so important. Everything is moving to this. I can run my entire business on this device. I can send you a contract, have you sign it, and pay me right now. Everything I have in my life is accessible on this device. A word that you'll probably have a lot of concern with or want to discuss is the cloud. I live in the cloud. And what it's called is all my stuff is out there on a server. I can get 10,000 songs on iTunes on here. I can get movies, my TV shows, my contracts, my presentations, my documents, everything. I can run my business with this phone. And the reality is with these smartphones, only 40% of the usage is actually making phone calls. So people are using this for way more than making phone calls anymore. In fact, a phone call is probably 4th or 5th on my list as an option to get a hold of you. I'm probably going to text you or do a lot of other ways of reaching out to you. So this device is really where it's all going because it is portable and because we live now in a world called real time. I want what I want right now. I'm not going to wait till I get home and then get on my computer and download this. I want it now. I want to buy a ticket to a movie. I want to get into a restaurant. I want to live my life in real time. And that's what this is doing for us.
Howard, any risks in all that?
Well, my first answer was going to be the phone, but I think what I want right now is a portable, high-power computer that's very small and lightweight with a keyboard. So maybe the alternative to an iPad. This is kind of a little bit off the path, but I really like RSS feeds. You can go through a lot of them very quickly. There's programs that help you, and it's a great way to see what's going on in the world. And within 10 minutes, you can scan so much different information. So I find that valuable.
All right. At this point, does anybody have any questions for our panelists? Mr. Rodin, would you stand up, please?
I will be happy to. You'll still think I'm sitting down, but I am going to stand up. I am probably the worst example for the two of you. And I'm probably the best example for you. I am not a lawyer. I do economic and financial consulting. And it's almost always in very, very strategic matters. Troubled company, new concept development, new facility development, evaluating the success of product lines or the failure of product lines. And it's all the kind of stuff that no one wants anyone else in the world to know anything about. I think the third or fourth paragraph of my letter of agreement is absolute assurance of non-disclosure of anything to anyone except by order of the court. How do I go out into that arena and have any degree of confidence that I am effectively promoting my business, which has been completely a word-of-mouth business for 24 years? security in my office. My wife insisted that I go to Carbonite the other day, and I've got to tell you, it scares the living daylights out of me. Have at it.
Yeah.
You want to start?
It's
I'm hopeful, right?
Not at all.
yeah.
As a community outreach member on the Los Angeles chapter of the Information System Security Association and dealing with high-level professionals in the security arena, there is no 100% guarantee. And that's kind of the problem here. But you need to encrypt your data. You want to consider, because there is no 100% guarantee, a cybersecurity policy that'll help you deal with that situation and pay for the legal ramifications should you have a breach. You need to have an attorney look at your contracts, and you need to have a security professional give you some guidance. A lot of people feel that their IT professional has their firewall and they've set up your computers and they told you that you're good. Basically